Well, all three of you. All right, so our last night here in Australia, in Sydney.
Is it? Yes.
Did he just say, is it? Did he just say that?
I thought it was morning. It's afternoon, isn't it?
Oh, okay. You done splitting hair over there? The Mad Scotsman's havering, folks. All right, so we're going live for a little bit here. You know, for a little while, obviously. Allie was going live, and I don't know if I was planning to go live tonight or not. I was probably planning to go in the morning when more people were awake, but we can go live for a little while. Long time no see. Been doing something every day. So.
You want one of these tampons before we finish them all?
You heard him, folks. You can't write this shit. Seriously. You heard him.
Is that not what they're called?
You mean Tim Tams?
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Look out. Enjoy your tampons.
Oh, I see what you mean. Took me a while. Yeah, well, I was getting ready. I was just getting out of the shower. So I had to kind of get ready to go live.
Because you were handling koala bears and kangaroos.
Not too many, really, actually. No koalas. The koalas were MIA. Along with, what else was MIA?
What was it you said, Mark, as soon as he arrived? Oh, look, giraffes. Let's go and have a look at those.
Yeah, at least the kangaroo.
Let's go and see the giraffes.
At least, well, they were just right there and they were close. Was able to get good footage of them. Anyway, got some footage of the kangaroos. Got some footage of the lemurs, the ringtail lemurs. Those are the ones that have the, you know, their tails are like black and white, black and white, black and white, black and white. Some of those, I was able to get really close to it too. The lemurs, you're able to get like almost right up on them. There's no like barrier in between the walking path when you go through the lemur habitat and where the lemurs hang out. There's like no barrier, and so the lemur actually almost walked straight up to the path. I was able to be like, you know, less than.
I know you got to see the southern hairy wombat or something?
I got to see the southern hairy wombat, or the hairy-nosed wombat, or something, whatever.
Southern hairy-nosed wombat.
Yeah, southern hairy-nosed wombat. Just a big rat, folks. That's all it is. Just a huge rat. It's like about this long. It's like about this big around in the middle. It's, you know, it's pretty big. It's just a huge rat. That's all it is, really. Anyway. I did not hug a koala. The koalas were MIA. They weren't there. They just weren't there. Let's see, what else? There was something else that I wanted to see that wasn't there either.
You saw the kangaroos.
I did see the kangaroos.
And the emus?
The lemurs. The lemurs, yeah.
There were kangaroos and there were ostriches or emus or something like that.
Oh, there was an emu. Oh, I think you said, yeah, that's right. You did say there was an emu in the kangaroo pen. Why would there be an emu in there? Anyway, I don't know. Then there was another weird thing. There was some, went by a drinking fountain.
Doing a YouTube video.
Went by a drinking fountain, and there was like some birds that were like some pretty, you know, interesting looking birds that I hadn't seen. But they were hanging around the drinking fountain and drinking the water that was like getting, you know, that was falling out of the water fountain, essentially. So they were just hanging around the water fountain. Got some footage of that. Went through the exotic bird habitat. Saw some interesting birds in there. It was kind of cool. Didn't see koalas though. That was what I was wanting to see the most. Part of the whole reason why I went there.
It's quite hot.
Bring Allie some Tim Tams. How much? Yeah. If we pay the hotel price, how much are these things?
They're ours. They're ours. They're what's left.
Oh, well, I think Allie wants more than two. Three-toed sloths there. They may have had sloths. I'm not sure. I didn't see the sloths. We didn't get to spend a whole lot of time at the zoo.
Dude, I was right behind you.
Yeah, that's true.
The three-toed
No
sloth.
arguments there. No arguments there. Anyway, but we didn't actually get to stay at the zoo very long. We kind of hit it quick. We were looking for the koalas. They weren't there. Oh, yeah, now I know what the other thing was. The Tasmanian devils. Nowhere to be seen. Couldn't see those guys, man. I was pissed. I really want to get some footage of them. But they were hiding today. Just like the koalas. Missing in action. Oh, well, anyways. We couldn't spend that much time at the zoo because obviously we were, we got up. We got going today. I went live or whatever. We checked out. We had to check out around 10. And then we ran around and did some things. And then headed over to the zoo. And then by that time, the game was starting. The footy game. Footy match was starting, right? So we had to head over to the stadium. So we didn't get to spend as much time at the zoo as we'd have liked. So anyway, no big deal. But I did get a lot of footage of, some interesting stuff.
Question: Who won? Who was playing and who won?
The St. Curds, K's, something, whatever.
St. Curds.
Yeah, the St. Curds, right?
Against the series.
Kirsten or something like that.
Kilda.
Kilter. There you go.
St.
Kilda.
Against?
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast Suns. Well done.
Yeah.
And who won?
Oh, yeah.
I just said.
Yeah.
St.
What was the
Kilda.
score?
What was it end up being? It was 88 to 87.
85, 84.
I thought it was 85, 84.
Oh, whatever. It was 1 point.
Oh, you must have seen an extra couple of goals. You were lucky. I thought I nearly had you two arrested.
Yeah.
St. Kilda, yeah, they won today. So that's Donna Marie's team, Donna Marie Snowden's team. So I gotta say the St. Kilda fans seemed a bit more boisterous when we were walking around. When we were headed over to the convention center for the Night Rider Drizzen show, we were seeing a lot of the people that were wearing the scarves that are colored for St. Kilda. Remember you were asking about the colors. Now we realize, it was the St. Kilda. A lot of the fans were roaming around down at the South Wharf in Melbourne near the convention center. So they were all over the place. So there's a lot of fans. They were out in force to support their team. So I didn't see much for the Gold Crown. What is it? Gold Coast. I didn't see a whole lot of their fans down there, but
It's a 2-hour flight to get there. Not many would travel there.
They were at the far end. You could clearly hear them cheering, and there was a few sat in front of us.
yeah, but there wasn't many. Tell you what, St. Kilda's their little fan section behind the goalpost. They had like more people than the Gold Coast team, and they had like all kinds of pom-poms, all kinds of stuff that they started shaking around every time St. Kilda got a point. So they were pretty enthusiastic. What happened? My phone just killed the stream, but here we are. We're back. But my phone just killed the stream for some reason on its own. It's buffering because my phone killed the stream, so that should end. Okay, good. Like I said, it interrupted. I don't know why. My phone just suddenly decided didn't want to be live anymore, I guess. So I had to resume it. We're good. We're back. We're all the way live.
Quick question.
Oh yeah. Can't wait.
There was a question of loading up the carpool karaoke.
Yes.
Thoughts on what you're going to do with that one?
I'm gonna upload it. No. There's actually two segments. There's the segment where we're doing Stacy songs, and then there's the segment where we're doing Stacy songs, and then there's the segment where we're doing what's it called? Men at Work, Land Down Under, and AC/DC.
Dirty Deeds.
Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. Story of Paul's life, and
Slowly but surely, he's learning.
It's at the end.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially the Mad Havering Scotsman.
We're just sat here enjoying the air conditioning, dude, while you're
Yeah, I know. I wish I was. And it's buffering again.
Maybe time to go.
Yeah. These Australian Wi-Fi's just don't work very well.
No, the problem is there's too much good lookingness in the room.
Ah, yes. We're overwhelming it.
Yeah.
Can't take it.
Yeah.
You had to show us and then it's like, holy fuck, shut this thing down.
That's you know.
I can't believe he said that.
Tim Tampon. So, is that the
Tim
guy? Is that the guy who makes them? Tim?
Tim Tampons.
Timothy Tampon.
Yeah, Mark, you can't see him. Here he is.
Oh, who do you want?
There he is. Ah.
I thought he
Yeah,
was on.
they could hear you. So.
Sorry about the comment about the biscuits.
What, you mean like Digital Underground, Hunty? And like I said, just grab them in the biscuits. Anyway, I love that song.
Hey,
It's funny.
dude, you're sat in the front. Have you got your seatbelt on?
Beep,
beep, beep, beep, beep. The only time he remembered to put it on was when he was sat in the back.
There is
and it doesn't
there was
peep.
a few times you remembered. I think 5.
Ali, I'm liking the Coke well enough. It's something to drink. I've been having trouble. I didn't have actually much trouble finding Dr. Pepper the first couple of days when we were here in Sydney. I didn't find. Let me see. Did I find? I think I did find one Dr. Pepper in Melbourne. I did find one Dr. Pepper in Melbourne. I know I found plenty of Dr. Pepper in Sydney when we were here in Sydney before we went to Melbourne.
And then there was plenty in Melbourne, but it was the diet and the cherry or something.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did finally find an Easy Mart in Melbourne, because the Easy Marts was where I was finding the Dr. Pepper in Sydney.
It's gripping stuff. Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Anyway, the Easy Mart only had cherry and diet Dr. Pepper, and I can't drink either one of those because they're crap. Anyway.
You transform into something else.
So I've been making do with Coke Classic, Sprite. You Aussies seem to like the Sprite. It's actually carried in a few stores. So I like Sprite. So I've been drinking some Sprite. Let's see. I can arrange a strip search. Uh-oh.
I'm off to bed.
In the morning.
Yep,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys in the morning.
Yep. See you, buddy.
We're going down to
Oh, actually, hold on, Stacy. All right, folks. I can't let Stacy leave yet.
Oh. I get a Coke?
Let's see. I wonder what size would be better for you. Hold on, folks. Give Stacy a shirt.
I'm taking over.
Excellent.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Take over, Mark.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, proper presenter.
Yeah, here you go. Actually, I better put my glasses on because I can't read what you're
You
writing.
got one of the.
We don't care what they write.
Anyway,
Since
you
when
know.
have we cared what they write?
Hi, Ali. Hi, Pom Pom.
So green.
Anyway, we've had a great time over the last 5 or 6 days.
Thanks, dude.
No worries.
Wonderful time meeting the supporters in Australia and obviously going to the shows and learning a lot
Hey, we'll see
more
you tomorrow.
about things.
Oh, wait.
See you, buddy.
Yeah. Hey.
There's the Seabrook head.
Yeah.
He's going to bed.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you haven't already,
Is it time to end already? How many we got watching? Only 13? Yeah, I imagine it's probably
Lucky.
still middle of the night for everybody over in the U.S., so.
lucky 13.
Yes.
It's actually not too early here in Australia for those of you that are here.
Better 13 that want to listen than 100 that don't.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that logic.
Now you're going to tell us what you really thought of the show.
Oh, so it is morning? Yeah, oh, okay, never mind. You guys are further ahead than I thought you were. Okay, so then you guys are fine. So then if it's 10 a.m. in the morning, we only got 13 people watching. That kind of sucks, but oh well. I was going to say, it's late here in Australia. It's, you know,
in the morning.
I know I need to be going to bed pretty soon.
It'd be 7.
You need your beauty
It'd be 7 in the morning, wouldn't it? In the West Coast, or
Yeah, because Ali would be, Central, so yeah. it would be, and they're saying it's 9:52, so it would be 7:52 on the West Coast. So
I'll be watching you in bed, dude.
yeah, and with their morning coffee.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you go. Wake
Breakfast with
wake up with Dickie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Tricky Dicky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show would have been on in the US again last night.
Pom Pom, I'm 6'1".
Tonight, that's the thing about Richard Nixon.
Yes, 6'1" is the correct guess. Yes, that's how tall I am. It's 6'53" in Cali. Oh, okay.
What, 6'1"? You're
Look
6'1".
at it. Look, he's sweating like Ken.
Yeah, I am right now, actually.
That's
Because you had that shower, makes you sweat.
I won't tell you how I knew that. I think I've said it before that I'm 6 foot tall. So, but I don't know. I'm curious now because you're alluding that maybe you found out through nefarious means. So now I'm curious, Allie. I'm gonna be messaging you tomorrow. Whoops. I hate going live from my laptops and my phone. It really is a pain in the butt.
A dude's gotta do what
I see. Ali knows how tall somebody else is and how much we match up. Got it. I get it. It was a whole thing on Purple's live stream last night. My height was a whole thing on Purple's stream. Really? Okay. Well, hey, I'll take the advertisements. You know. Paul is quit. I'm not sure what that. Has he passed out? No, he's there. He's here still. He's there, ready to haver. There he is. Let's see. They were guessing like I was 6'5". No, yeah, I'm actually 6'1". You're a giant, and you must be at least 6'5", and we all disagreed. Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah. All right. Well, you know, actually, Karen did get to meet us over at the Duke of Enmore pub, and you know, maybe she thought I was about that tall. I mean, hey, look, you know, once you start getting over 6 feet, you're taller than a lot of people. So we giants look giant, I guess, to some people.
Oh, is 6 foot equivalent to 2 meters? Is that what it is?
1.82 meters.
9.82. Wow, he's got it down to the freaking decimal here.
1.8.
That guy's
1.82 meters.
impressive.
Is 6 foot.
Yeah.
You'd have to be about 6'3", 6'4" to be 2 meters.
Yeah.
Or even 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
But if I'm only 4'3", what does that make you, dude?
Well, you know, you might make that 2 meters if you.
Tell us what you really thought of the show, though.
Which show?
The show. Last night. The show. What you thought. Not just.
There are a lot of interesting things said, and a lot of things that weren't said. A lot of things that weren't said at the Duke of Enmore. They just, you know, for whatever reason.
Yes.
It's just there was more there, and it was a little more interesting. Now, I will say that some of the questions were regurgitated.
Yeah.
There was a few questions that were in there that I think that Laura and Stephen and David have asked to be put in there. There's like about 2 or 3 questions that went from the first show to the second show. So I think those are just like, those 3 questions are like standard questions that they just want to be asked, and then beyond those 3 questions, they would take other questions from audience members or whatever, right? Well, people that emailed them in their questions and stuff like that, right? So they would take so for the 3 questions, you know, that was all the same, you know, it wasn't nothing new. But what was new was like you know, David Rudolph. Let's talk. You know, I talked about Stephen and Laura this morning. So let's talk a little bit about David Rudolph now, right? David Rudolph had some very interesting things to say. First off, talking about criminal justice system, talking about experts. Very interesting, folks. He actually showed us a clip from the trial, okay, where he was questioning one of the prosecution's experts, and he absolutely made the guy look like a complete idiot.
Sammy, what was his name? Sammy?
Yeah, Sammy.
Shamboli or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? So he ends up reading, he's cross-examining this expert, and he's reading like a report that this expert had written in a previous case, where he had used just non-scientific terminology, not really very scientific methods. It was just really odd. And so he was found dead with like her head in the toilet, right? And so he brings in some women, and they spend like 4 hours trying to see if it's possible to drown somebody, you know, to drown in a toilet or whatever, and all this stuff. Anyway, he's using a lot of non-scientific terminology. It was really, you know, it was just really bizarre, and everything. And it was a very interesting clip. It was just really interesting. And the whole point is the fact that there needs to be, these are allowed to come in and what, you know, and to get the testimony of these experts to be more reliable and accurate. Right now, there's nothing really, you know, the judges aren't, I mean, judges are judges, but they're not experts in science and, you know, all these sort of things. So they're not really qualified to determine whether or not some experts are, you know, full of it or not, right? That's why I like, you know, I'm going to talk about this real quick. CIFS, something that Dean and Jerry have created, you know, in Wisconsin. That's the Center for the Integrity of Forensic Sciences. That's the type of stuff we're going to need moving forward. That's the type of stuff we're going to need to call attention to these bogus experts bringing in this junk science and stuff like that, because this junk science has no place in the courtroom. Another thing David Rudolph talked about was that in court we deal with approximation of fact, because you're relying on people's, you know, testimony and people's, you know, memories and things like that. And so you find fact, but you have to deem it as an approximation, because obviously people's memories can be fuzzy, or people's memories can be, you know how it is, right? You can remember things differently than they actually happened, and you don't, without meaning to have, you know, remembered it incorrectly. It happens. Our memories aren't exactly infallible, you know. So that's kind of another thing he brought up, that in courts, you know, in the courtroom, we're dealing with approximation of fact and stuff like that. And then he talked about the owl theory, which was brilliant. So you guys have heard me talk about the owl theory somewhat here on my channel. You know, I honestly, you guys know how I feel. I don't believe that the Kathleen was attacked with the blowpoke. I don't believe that, and I don't think I ever will believe that. I don't know what happened exactly, but I do know that the owl theory does explain a few things. Explains why a few things happened. You know, it explains two of which look like talons from an owl, you know, and stuff like that. She had the micro feathers in her hair, okay, mixed in with blood in her hair, right? You had all those things. You have no skull fractures. You have no brain hemorrhaging, you know, or bruising to the brain or anything like that. You know, I apologize for the buffering, folks. There's just really nothing I can do about it. I'll just keep this kind of quick and brief and everything. And you guys can wait till I get home when I have my internet connection. My internet connection is the best.
Well,
so,
dude, can I just interrupt just very, very briefly? I'd like to know what Mark thought of David Rudolph. Rudolph's presentation?
I'll let you know at another time. It's a bit late.
Well,
It was very good. I can say it was very good.
I'll tell you what I liked about David Rudolph. I've met the guy. If I'm 4'3", he must be about 3'6".
He's a short guy. So, anyways, so getting back to what I was saying about the owl theory, and so these are the problems I had. But however, folks, there was a problem I had with the owl theory, and this is why I couldn't really get on board with it fully, and I'm not sure I am yet. But you know, David Rudolph explained something last night that suddenly put things into a new perspective for me. So what he said was, into the evidence I just went over, there was he you know, I always had a problem with how would Michael have heard Kathleen scream, or how would Michael have not heard that from the pool if she was going back in the owl attack or something, right? Well, it turns out David Rudolph was pointing out that that Kathleen had gone to the front door, that there was evidence that she had gone over to the front door, that she had possibly placed, because they were getting ready for Christmas, and that she had placed some reindeer out on the lawn or whatever. And so that's the belief is that she could have been going out there and putting like these reindeer or whatever, and an owl swooped down or whatever, and that would explain how she would have been on like a completely different side of the house, where Michael wouldn't have been able to hear her over by the pool. And then he talked about there was a smear of blood on the door, like the door jamb of the front door of the house, and then there was like a trail of blood that led from the front door to the staircase. It's interesting. It's interesting stuff, folks. Well, like I said, it explains how Kathleen Peterson could have gotten attacked and Michael would not have heard the screaming from it. And that was always my biggest problem with the owl theory. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think what he did mention was the fact that a lot of the things that he thought were one thing, he presented a whole list of things that he thought, well, that could be from somewhere else. Like, for example, there was a bit of blood on the door frame. He assumed that was Mike Peterson having cradled Kathleen.
And was running back and forth to the door. That's what he had originally thought, yes.
Yeah.
So, but now in light of the owl theory that the neighbor guy had come up out, it's becoming, it's looking a bit more plausible to me. I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you that's the answer, but I'm telling you it's looking more and more plausible to me every day. I know how all you feel. Trust me, the first time I heard about the owl theory, I was like, oh, get the out of here. Owls? Are you kidding me? I know exactly how you feel. But I kept an open mind, and when I look at it, it explains a lot of the problems with this case. It explains a lot of the problems with what happened here and how it happened. So,
yeah, why would an owl
protective?
Why would it come down? What possible motive?
I don't know.
Well, if you remember, what was she doing? She put out Christmas decorations. Yes,
the reindeer that I was just talking.
Yeah, and the neighbor. I think his name was it Larry? I think his name was Larry something.
The neighbor, yeah. Okay, it was Larry. I think that's correct. Okay,
yeah.
The neighbor, yes. And
he had actually done quite a bit of research on it, hasn't it? It was actually it's actually the neighbor that when he first started talking about the owl theory, everybody was taking the mick, saying, oh well, we're going to have a lineup of owls and see which one
right,
is,
yeah.
An identity parade.
Everybody thought it was. I mean, everybody treats it as a joke, or treated it as a joke at first, but the guy eventually did go out and flesh it out a bit. Got some experts who could attest that, number one, the owls did live in the area. So that was now, because that wasn't a fact at trial. So if he would have tried to introduce that at trial, it would have been a problem for him, because he had spent the entire trial talking about how, that it had been a fall, or and that sort of stuff, right? And if he'd have come in at the last second trying to say it was an owl, and he didn't have. I mean, he didn't have the facts in for it. He had no fact. He didn't have no proof in that the barred owls actually lived in that neighborhood. He didn't have that at the time at trial. He didn't have proof that they are or can be aggressive. He didn't have that at the time, so he really couldn't do much with it, because it would have, the jury would have seen him changing theory. It would have been a bad idea. But when he was looking at the prospect of a new trial, he was considering it. He was considering putting it in, and he was going to bring in all the proof he needed to do that. So that he could bring in the facts that those barred owls did live in the neighborhood, facts that those barred owls they can be quite vicious and aggressive. So all these things, they like I said, the owl theory looks a little bit more plausible to me all the time, because it explains certain issues.
Yeah, the neighbourhood noted that there were, of all the owls, there was some that were becoming quite aggressive and swooping down in an intimidating fashion. So yes, more than possible that.
Yeah.
Could have been.
David Rudolph is a babe. Right on. Let's see, Bubbler. What he said was buffering rude. Oh, okay. I wondered about the smear at the front door. They did an experiment, and it showed that he couldn't have heard the scream from where he was. Right. But that's if the screaming was coming from the stairwell, though, Allie. Right? If you think about it, they put that speaker or whatever in the stairway, right? So yeah, it makes sense, right? Maybe I need to explain better what I'm trying to say here. So my issue with the owl theory up until now was, where would Kathleen have been attacked by the owl? Previously, before listening to David Rudolph, I assumed that the only place she could have been attacked was as she was walking back from the pool and walking up to that back door again, and that maybe the owl swooped down on her. But I had this issue of, if that had happened, she would have been much closer to Michael, and he would have certainly been able to hear her screaming and all that stuff, and it would have alerted him, right? So we have to, how do we explain that he wasn't alerted? Well, that's why listening to what David Rudolph had to say last night, in where the evidence actually seems to puts Kathleen out at the front door, putting out some little reindeer Christmas decorations, and that this owl came down and probably attacked her at that point. And that would explain to me how she could have been screaming and raising a whole ruckus, but Michael wouldn't have heard it all the way over by the pool, right? Previously, I had thought the only place she could be attacked was like when she was walking up to the back door. But now I know, because of what David Rudolph said, that it's very possible she was way over on the other side of the house by the front door. And that would explain why Michael wouldn't hear her. So that was one of my main issues with the owl theory. Why I just couldn't get behind it, really. And although I do feel better about it now, I do feel it's more plausible now. I'm still harboring some skepticism, a little, but I gotta say the owl theory does explain a lot, and it does, it just covers how this could have been, how this could have happened, and all that sort of stuff, where we have these very superficial injuries. I know they look terrible. They're very large gashes, horrible gashes that she bled out from, but when I say superficial, I mean the fact that they were literally only skin deep. Okay? If it had come from the blow poke or something, that she was being beat with, that she was being beat over the head with by Michael, then there would have been skull fractures. There would have been brain hemorrhaging, bruising, that sort of stuff. So this is the problems that I've had with the staircase. And like I say, the more and more I look into the owl theory, a little bit more all the time, it looks more and more plausible, more and more. I'm still, like I said, I'm still not jumping in head first going, this is it, but I mean, geez, a lot of things line up, especially after what I heard from David Rudolph last night. And I'll go into this deeper when I get home and stuff like that. So, all right, let me look at a few more comments, folks, and then I am going to have to go to bed because I am just tired. Like Casey said, when you find the truth, it just fits. Exactly. Things start to fit, right? And that's what's kind of happening with the owl theory. Things are starting to fit. Things are starting to make sense, finally.
Well, that's right, because you always said that you weren't sure where you stood on the staircase.
Yes, because I don't. Yes, right. Well, yes, I don't. I believe. I can't rule. I can't say that Michael Peterson is 100% innocent, but I can say that I did not have my reasonable doubt removed. Like, that's what I can say.
Oh no, it only increases reasonable doubt.
What? Okay. Whatever. Okay, fine. So what I'm saying is that I still have reasonable doubt, and so the fact that my reasonable doubt has not been removed, I think he should not have been found guilty. That's it. I still have reasonable doubt. It was not the reasonable doubt was not removed for me. So because it was not removed, I cannot vote guilty. Personally, that's just where I stand on it. Sorry, I don't know how do you do the orange box thing? I don't know what the orange box thing is. I'm sorry. Oh, the names. You have to type in @ and the person's name. Usually, if you type in the first 2 letters, it kind of puts it up there, and you can click on it, and it'll insert it for you. But you have to put the @ symbol first. Yeah, so you see like Carol Ann just did for Allie Apperson. There you go. Okay, so if you look at the layout of the house, would she have been running towards Michael for help but didn't make it that far? Could be. Could be she went to go run up that stairway because she was maybe running to her own master bathroom upstairs, so that because she wanted to clean up, maybe not realizing how bad it was, and started getting woozy from the blood loss. As she was going up that stairs. I mean, that's a plausible possibility to me. But it would seem to me she was running for that staircase and running to the master bedroom, possibly, is what would make sense to me. Not necessarily, because I don't know. I don't hear about tons of blood going back out to the back door, out the door that leads out to the pool. I don't hear about a huge trail of blood leading there, really. So. That's what I'm thinking there anyway. So, right, no evidence of blunt force trauma, exactly. And that was the other thing that David Rudolph talks about, is that when he saw the medical examiner report of on Elizabeth Ratcliffe, and it said cause of death homicidal violence, he was like, "Oh, I had never read that before, ever, in an autopsy. I never ever seen that." And he goes, "Stephen, Laura, have you ever heard of that before, ever in an autopsy?" And they were both like, nope, neither one of us have ever heard that terminology used. And David Rudolph goes, "That's right, because they usually use terms like blunt force trauma, gunshot to the heart, stab, slit throat, stab wound to the, gut, or whatever, whatever it might be." They never use, basically what he's saying is, instead of giving a scientific finding of what happened, they were actually offering an option that was explaining the crime. Instead of explaining the injuries, they were actually trying to explain the crime by calling it homicidal violence. Now, he also goes into talking about how this had all been determined previously, that it was a brain aneurysm. They'd all gone and talked to the person who investigated this back in Germany, way back when Elizabeth Ratcliffe had the aneurysm and fell, and all that sort of stuff. And they had done all their homework on it. They'd done all their due diligence on it. And they'd gone back to Germany and just looked into this and stuff, because they knew that the prosecution may try to pull some BS. And literally 2 weeks before trial, Jim Harden starts trying to exhume this body. I mean, I mean, David Rudolph convinced Elizabeth's daughters to go ahead and agree to have the body exhumed because he convinced them that they didn't want to seem like they were being obstructive. It might hurt, Michael Peterson and all that stuff. Jim Harden's a jerk. Jim Harden is a dishonest piece of crap. The fact that guy's a judge is just revolting to think, honestly.
Just going back to the autopsy, David Rudolph got Ray. Is it Ray? He's a detective.
No, it said homicidal. Yeah. It said homicidal, violent, or homicidal. Yeah, whatever it was. That's what it said. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he'd actually got Ray to look over 500 of the cases in the county over the last 5 years.
Right.
And of those 500 cases, there was one that mentioned, a homicide.
A homicidal violence. Yeah, there was no other cases that had been in out of 500. There was no other cases that in which the words homicidal violence had been used. That was a complete new terminology. And like I said, it had all been previously determined that it was a brain aneurysm that Elizabeth Ratliff had. But they brought Elizabeth Ratliff back to Deborah Radish, the medical examiner, who later admitted during the post-conviction process, she actually, I remember David Rudolph in the staircase talking about she got a letter where Deborah Radish admitted to the fact that her superiors were pressuring her to say that it was blunt force trauma, that it was whatever, like that killed Kathleen Peterson. And she was admitting to the fact that her superiors were putting that pressure on her. And then when you add that to the fact that in 500 cases, the only one case that ever uses the terms homicidal violence is in the Kathleen Peterson case. The only one. All the rest of them have scientific determinations, like blunt force trauma, gunshot to the heart, knife slitting the throat, basically, or whatever, or a slit throat, or basically, or whatever, or just, where it's describing the injuries, right? And allowing argue for the prosecution. That's essentially what was happening. It's disturbing, very disturbing. The death cert says homicide. It's a box that's checked. The facts came in. He reads it in the staircase, folks. He reads it. He reads right from the facts. And it's homicidal violence. It's what he said last night. I don't know. I'll find the proof and deal with it when I get home. I can't do it right now. Did Michael ever take a lie detector test? I can't remember. I don't think he did. Oh, you were talking about Teresa. Okay, what's going on here? Let me see here. No evidence of blunt force trauma. I disagree. I believe there is evidence of blunt force trauma with Teresa. That's part of Kathleen Zellner's motion for post-conviction relief, is that Kathleen Zellner believes she was now beat with a hammer, and that whoever was doing it was swinging that thing back, and that was what was creating the blood spatter on the interior of the RAV4 tailgate. Because they tried to recreate the spatter the way that the prosecution said it happened, and they couldn't. No way, no how, no way, no how. But they were able to recreate it quite quickly by using like a hammer. They would get by using something big and fat that has pretty heavy and has a broad surfaces. They were able to do that and test the cast off, and they got the same size droplets, approximately the same kind of spread pattern that you see on the tailgate. And so that's why that's why Kathleen Zellner and her experts are now determining that is most likely the way that Teresa Halbach was killed, was by blunt force trauma. And the beveling, I believe, would most likely have been caused by that. And I think that's why Chris Palahniuk over at Microtrace really, really, really wants to get those skull fragments. He wants to get those skull fragments. He wants to examine them over at Microtrace because he saw something in the radio spectrography that concerned him or that he thought was interesting. And so that was one of the pieces. When they were back, when Kathleen Zellner was trying to negotiate with Fallon to get the quarry, the MGC, the MGP bones and all that stuff, she was also trying to get the skull fragments because Chris Pelenick wanted to check those out. So, that's where it's at. That's what was going on, and that's where it's, that's what's going on. I mean, it's just, it could be blunt. Yeah, it very well could be blunt force trauma that killed Teresa. So, I mean, I get what you're saying there, Julie. So now I understand what you're saying. Let's see, the state homicidal violence is not an official manner and cause of death. Absolutely, Thomas. I agree with you on that. That is a legal determination to be made to a jury. Exactly. It's an argument that a lawyer should be making, not a medical examiner. The medical examiner should just be saying, this is the injury, this is what it is. They shouldn't be trying to determine whether or not it was homicidal, suicidal, fratricidal, matricidal, whatever kind of cidal you want to put on it. It doesn't matter. They shouldn't be making any such determination. That they should just be reporting the injuries and let the lawyers argue about how it happened. That's, so that's what's interesting in this case. And like I said, the medical examiner did eventually admit that she was being pressured by her superiors and that she did not feel comfortable at the time, but she basically felt like she was being made to say that by her superiors. So pretty unfortunate, really.
No, dude, that sort of stuff doesn't happen in the legal system over there, does it?
Manner of death in Ontario, Canada, and other jurisdictions consists of following: homicide, suicide, natural causes, accidental and undetermined. Whereas the cause of death can be things such as a heart attack, myocardial infarction. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Whereas the cause of death, that's what fair grieved to me. Oh, told you. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, no matter what, at least Thomas and I can agree on something. Homicidal violence is not a proper determination by a medical examiner. It just isn't. So, anyway. All right, guys. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to go to bed. I am really tired. I got to get on a plane in the morning, and most likely when I get off that freaking plane, I'm going to have to go to work a full day. And that's going to be pretty rough. So, I'm going to go get some sleep. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm beat. So I'm gonna go fall asleep watching some cricket because I can never watch cricket back in the States because it's never on any channel that I can find anyway. So I'm enjoying watching it here. So I'm gonna go watch some cricket while I fall asleep. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay. Safe travels. Thank you so much.
We'll get you converted.
Converted
to cricket.
Yeah. Okay. You can. I'm already want to watch it, Paul. I already want to watch it. I've just explained it isn't on TV in my country. Anyway, never mind. So we'll see you guys if you haven't already.